What's up guys, in this video I'll be fully showcasing every single Reworked Rare class in the game, and I'll also do a breakdown of every advantage and disadvantage the class could have. So now that I'm done explaining that, let's hop right in. So the first class I'm going to showcase is this class that I'm not even going to try pronouncing, which starts with 3 items and more regen than the average person. Alright, so spawning in the game I get 3 items. So first I get a healing potion, a healing wand, and a blessed prayer. For the healing wand, it's basically the exact same as the one you get from the believer class, only doing 10 damage. So for the prayer ability, it gives 31.2 regen, which isn't that much, but if you wanted to regen a little faster, you could use it. But if I were you, I would still recommend using health potions. So right here, I was going to show how I could heal enemies with the wand it spawns with. But I could even show it because I didn't have a weapon, and then I forgot this class doesn't even spawn with one. So let's just go to the breakdown. So I think it's pretty good for healing, but a big con I say it has is that it's basically the same as Believer. I say this because the buff curve from this class isn't too different from the one you get from the Believer, and you also spawn with the same wand. So if I were you and I wanted to buy a healing class, but I can only get this class or the Believer class, I would definitely get the Believer class because these classes are basically the same, and then the Believer class is cheaper. Alright, so now I'm going to showcase the Burn class, which has normal stats and spawns with 2 items. So spawning in, you get a sword and a medium coin pouch, which gives you 75 gold. But the main ability of this class is how it has 5% off on every item. So that goes for shop items, merchant shop items, and steampunk shop items and stuff. But other than the starting items and the discount, there's nothing really else about this class I could showcase. So I'm going to just go to the breakdown. I say this class is pretty good for the discounts, and I also say that the extra money it spawns with at the start is also good. So if you want a class that saves money, or maybe you just want to spawn with a sword and a free bag of 75 gold, I say you get this class. And I say a big con, just so nobody gets mad at me in the comments, it's the discount it spawns with is not stackable. So that's a big thing you should keep in mind. Alright, so the next class I'm going to showcase is the Berserker, which spawns with a battle axe in the Berserker set. And for this class, you have more speed than average, more jump power than average, and you also have 15% attack speed and 40 more health. Alright, so the battle axe you spawn with does 25 damage, and using the Rager ability, you get 15.1 more attack speed and 3.7 more damage. Alright, so I tried fighting some thieves, and then when you use the ability, you don't really notice a difference while fighting them. Alright, so since I'm done showcasing this class, let's do the breakdown. So I think the battle axe you spawn with is good for doing decent damage in early game. And it also makes it so you don't have to buy a weapon at the start. So I would recommend this class to beginners because you have 200 health starting off, and you also have a weapon and nice stats. The only bad thing about this class is how the ability it spawns with barely makes a difference in fighting. But other than that, if you're a beginner and you want a decent class, you should get this. Alright, next class I'm going to showcase is the Flowerling class, which starts with extra health, regen, and with 3 starting items. So for the Vine Staff, it takes 1 mana a shot and does 12.5 damage. For natural flower healing, it's like an active ability that when you hold it, it gives you 28 regen. So you can just keep on holding it, and then it's basically infinite. You also get 2 Everblooms that give you permanent speed. So right here, I used the staff against skeletons, and it actually does decent damage. So if you want to do damage, you can just try using it like that. And right here, I just let myself get hit by a skeleton to see how the thorns work. But since that's all I can showcase, let's head to the breakdown. I say that's a good class for regenerating and fighting at the same time. And unlike the Bushling class, the regen is actually enough to notice. So I recommend this class to people who wants to be like a mage and a hero at the same time, and then you just want a mix of both of them. The only real downside of this class is that you'll need a bit of mana to use the wand. Alright, now I'm going to showcase the Goblin Scout, which starts with extra speed, extra health, and extra jump power. And you also start with 3 items. Alright, so starting out, you get a dagger drill, and a coin pouch. Alright, so using the coin pouch, you get a free 35 gold. Alright, so the dagger drill does 20 damage, and it shoots like an arrow from a thief crossbow. And then the dagger does as much damage as a pitchfork, but it has a super fast attack speed. So just so you know, you are not friendly to goblins. So don't go into a goblin camp thinking you're safe, because they will attack you. So right here, I was just using my dagger, and then right here, I use my dagger drill. So it does 30 damage as a headshot, and it also slows an enemy down. but only lasts for like 5 seconds. Now that I'm done explaining, let's head to the breakdown. So there's nothing that really stands out about this class, but I guess the money and the fast weapon is kind of cool. The dagger throw ability could be used to like get away from enemies if you're like in a bad situation. But honestly, I wouldn't really use this class because it doesn't have much to offer. But like if you're a beginner, it could be good for you because of the throw and the dagger. Alright, so now we're going to showcase this mage class, which starts with extra HP and 3 starting items. So starting off, you get 175 mana, a wand, a superior blink, and a crystal ball. And the crystal ball sells for 65 gold. Alright, so for the wand, it does 25 base damage and it takes 2 mana a shot. And for the blink ability, it takes 25 mana and then you travel 55 studs ahead, with the cooldown only being 2 seconds. So right here, I was tested the wand against the goblins, and then I literally almost one-shotted the goblin with 1 hit since it does 43 damage. And another thing I found out is that for like enemies with short aggro range like this goblin or skeletons, you can just teleport out of the range with the blink ability. So I'll say this class has super good damage for a word class because it does like 43 damage with headshots. So I would definitely recommend this class to beginners, but I also want to warn you that you need like a lot of mana to even sustain this class. So this class is definitely one of the better ones out of the word classes, but all you need to do is make sure you have mana and you're like basically set. Alright, so now I'm gonna showcase the ninja class, which has like a whole bunch of different stats that I'm not even gonna like say. But the main one we're gonna be talking about is evasion, and this class also starts with 3 items. Alright, so the Rusted Katana spawns with does 25 damage. And this class is one of the few classes to have a dash ability where you can dash like 40 studs every 4 seconds. Alright, so right here, I tried to test the evasion, and if you don't know what evasion is, it's like a chance to dodge an attack. So I have a 25% chance to dodge an attack, and then I last a great amount of time for like how long I've been standing still. Alright, so for this class, it could be used for like a DPS class because of its weapon, but like I literally can't think of any other ways that this class could be used. So the evasion it spawns with is like definitely amazing, but the fact that you can't even wear armor is the part that makes this class like super trash. So if I was a beginner, I wouldn't really use this class because like late game it would be like super hard to use. Alright, so now I'm gonna showcase the thief class, which spawns with extra health, extra speed, extra jump power, and 3 starting items. Alright, so just like the Goblin Scout class, I get a pouch that gives you 35 gold. And for the ability you spawn with called Payout, it spawns a gold bar, and I'll show you what you can do with that later. And you also spawn with a Poison Dagger, which does 1 more damage than the Goblin Scout Dagger, and it also has an effect. So for the Poison Dagger, the more you hit an enemy, the more they slow down. So I hit the Goblin 4 times, and then it slowed them down to a point where they couldn't even move. Alright, so for the people who been waiting for me to show what the gold bar does, you saw me tame the thief, you dragging the gold bar to them. So you can just basically use that to tame thieves, so that you can like make your own army of thieves using that. Alright, so I say that this class is like super good for support for like slowing down enemies that would like be chasing you down or something. I would definitely recommend this class to beginners because it's easy to use, and the poison effect is also really good. One bad thing about it though is that the poison effect is only limited to the dagger, so late game is purely for effects and not damage. Alright, so that's all the classes, and this will be the end of the video. So leave some feedback in the comments on what you think, and also feel free to like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. And just so you know, I'll also be making a video on the showcase of the epic classes and maybe legendaries. Hassle Hero, peace out.